Okay, so this is a good time to stop and cover this little keyboard shortcut that I've used a couple times, and I said I'd cover it later. And it'll probably be covered again in other videos as we get into things like animating and so on. However, so for now, there's a keyboard shortcut that's basically Alt along with any of the other shortcuts we use to manipulate. So if I go Alt-R, that clears out the rotation of that object. So if you go up here to the channel box, it's called the channel box in Maya for those coming from Maya, you'll see, let me undo that, you see I had some rotation values here, and Alt-R simply clears them out. It's not an undo, it's just simply a clearing out the values for those channels. So if I wanted to clear out the values for grab, that would be Alt-G, so that's the location values, right? And scale, there's no scale on it, but let's put some scale like that, and then Alt-S clears out the scale. So that's kind of an important thing to know at this stage in the game. So now the next thing you're going to want to know is let's get this guy up here and rotate him, and he's in local, right? So now we're in local, so we're going to have two. Actually, let's start just in global, and let me clear the rotation out from that. We'll start in global, and then we'll get to that later. Okay, so now just to illustrate for those coming from other applications, in particular Maya, because I think that's going to be a common case, people coming from Maya into Blender. Also Lightwave, but Lightwave, the way to do it is a lot different. There's a new manipulator, but I'll use Maya for now anyway. This will be the good explanation. So in Maya, you'll notice if I hit W key, what's going on in Maya? Oh, there's a keyboard shortcut that's see if we can do this without the shortcut. So let's get that cube back in there. My software is not letting me, my recording software is not letting me use the shortcut. So now here I am in move, right? And you see these little squares here. Now if it may not be real apparent, well, maybe it will be here, right? So you can see, although it's not obvious, that I'm actually only moving on two axes at the same time. But it's more obvious when you're using scale. So scale is down here. So if I'm scaling on only these axes, right, then I'm only scaling it like that. I'm not scaling it up at the same time. If I grab it from the middle, I'm scaling what's called universal or a uniform scale. It's basically that. And so up to now I've only been showing uniform scale and also scaling on these particular axes, you know, right? So there's this other little feature that is really handy for modeling and other things, is to be able to scale or move or rotate along two of these axes only. Very common. So how that works in Blender is there's no manipulator for that I'm aware of. So go back over here to Blender, and you notice there isn't really anything to grab onto to do that. But let's go back to our shortcuts. This is another level of complexity on the shortcuts that once you learn them, it's really super fast. So here's how it works. So now we were gonna scale on the X, right? So we could do that, right? And then we could rotate and then scale on the XX, and we could do that, right? So let's clear scale and rotate out, and then let's go back. So now let's decide that we want to, the end result we want is to be able to scale only like this and only like that, right? Very common for modeling and other things. So what I will do in Blender is I have to use a keyboard shortcut. So the way that works is I would go scale, and then in this case I'm going to use Z. So Shift Z, and now you see it gives me two of those, and I'm scaling only on those two axes. See, I only scaled it on those two. So that's how you do it in Blender, and it works for all types of things. I think I'll cover the rest of that in the next video, but if you haven't figured out by now, it would work on any of these axes that you choose. So I'll start there on the next video.